our problems are our neighbors' problems, and our neighbors' and neighbors' problems, so that what you see in our community is also in the Latin and Mexican communities, and in the Asian and Southeast Asian and the Pacific Island communities, and the Caribbean communities, and South American communities. I mean, the intensity of the level of violence that is occurring among the youth from Brazil to Darfur, you know, from Hong Kong to Seattle is amazing. So, yeah, I agree with you. Qatari was definitely exposed. My children have been exposed to the values and ideals, Kemetic ideals, Ma'at being the base. With the sisters circles, and you can just start one with your friends. I mean, I remember our first circle that we started, where we just put the invitation out, and we were surprised 80 women came. And it was a powerful prayer and healing circle. But that was too large to be in someone's living room, so we were out in the community. And this is when the advent of crack had hit our community, South Berkeley and Oakland, really intensely. And we believe our prayers created an extreme amount of change in people's lives. So how would that look? You would talk with your girlfriends or sister friends or relatives, sister relatives, and or if you were a man, brother friends and brother relatives, and you would come together. We have come together where everybody brings a dish, and we sit in circle. Now, that circle could be very just like we're doing now, and where we each check in, starting out speaking to how we're feeling, how the week or day or went, or the last time we saw each other gathered went. But starting even before that, I should say, we start with prayer, and whatever represents bringing the Holy Spirit, the divine and sacred, into the space, because there are several things in creating sacred space. You invite the presence of God to move through you and your words and what you share, and then in that you also know that what you say in the circle stays in the circle. It doesn't leave that place. You don't go out and talk about it among anyone else, and you ask another sister or brother permission to speak to what they spoke to in the circle if you want to address it outside of the circle. And then so you check in, and then usually the person that needs, there's two ways to do it. You can call one for somebody specific having problems in their life, where they really speak to and have a chance to express and cry and talk about what they need to happen, and then you pray, you know, and after prayer for them, you then offer input or support. Maybe they need to have the house cleaned, and everybody chooses a day of the week that they go over, or a month to go over and help them clean their house regularly, or chip in $20 a month to pay for childcare so that they could do extra work, or whatever needs to be done. Go over and help do the garden, start the garden, or clean the garage, or educate your children together. I was in a circle where we would come together, and three of us would go over and clean the person's house and cook dinner ahead of time before we got there. And then we would have the older children watch the children, so that we would have that time together. So making it a space available that is clean and a place for the children is really important. So you come together, you circle, you pray, you check in, you allow the person in particular that needs the space and time to really talk to the conditions and in their life, and then you pray for them, and then you allow them, they allow you to give input if they want it, on, and solutions come out of these circles, and changes in people's lives come out of these circles, and our youth, our young people, and our children respond to, and it's being used to control them. Music, and color and movement, and sound and rhythm, and so when you have children that have to sit still for 45 minutes, because that's another thing we'll often find with our children. The one thing that makes them wonderful athletes is that they're kinetic thinkers. That means they think not just in concrete linear thought, but they also think with their bodies and their feelings. And if you're in an environment where you're not allowed to move and interact and grow, not to say that discipline is not important, because discipline is key in all of this, but to say that when we teach them, discipline can be taught, but at the same time they need to be taught in different ways. That's one way. The other thing is the food that we're feeding our children. The foods, and I think a lot of the sugars and fats and hydrogenated foods and the high fructose corn syrup, the colorings and the flavorings,
from infancy,
from infancy on, creates chemical imbalances in our children
and the brain
as
development is